Hello and welcome to Chanakya English for our today's exclusive interview with Ms. Jayasree Saranathan. And before we introduce you our guest, I'd like to start on what we are really going to cover today. And it is going to be about Nalanda University. And many of you may have already seen in news that the Prime Minister just inaugurated the new Nalanda University. But there is a history to it, our heritage really. And the old Nalanda University was there from the 5th century, and it was there functioning for almost 800 years with 9 million scriptures, 1,500 teachers, and almost 10,000 students. And it was the Oxford of those times. And it was destroyed. We'd like to do a little bit of a deeper dive into it and understand what really is the essence of bringing back the Nalanda University in the today's world. Welcoming Ms. Jayasree Saranathan. Welcome, ma'am, to Chanakya English.
Good morning.
So, ma'am, just as a quick thing to get started, can you give us your perspective of what is the relevance of this university coming back to life now?
First of all, this university is an international university. It was an international university in the olden days, starting from India to Japan. Almost 20 countries were somehow, that is, people from 20 countries have come to Nalanda to study during different parts of time. So it was like an international university, like how you have Oxford or Purdue or many American universities. And because of this, in the year 2004, an initiative was taken by not just by us, but by ASEAN, that is Association of Southeast Asian Countries. This that is this association, the group of Southeast Asian countries, they decided to have some kind of a sort of university once again in the same place in Nalanda. So this was discussed in a summit in the year 2004, and then this came into a kind of, they brought out a kind of resolution in 2005 that we have to have an international university again in Nalanda, because in the past, all these Southeast Asian countries, most of them who were part of that summit, they had some people as visiting India in the past. For example, you take the Indonesian country, Malaysia, even Singapore. Singapore passed a resolution in one of the summits, and Japan, China, Korea, Thailand. From all these places, people have visited India to Nalanda. The main reason was all these were Buddhist countries. Buddhism, connected all of them. So now, with the realization that such kind of an university which united the Buddhists and also which served as a source of information and on knowledge and learning for Buddhists around the world, they thought we should have, or we should resurrect this kind of university once again, and none other than India. That is the place of Nalanda is the best choice for them. So they passed a resolution, and India was part of it. And India was very much eager, not only now, soon after the independence. How we talked about reviving the Somnath, they talked about reviving Nalanda University in 1951. Dr. Rajendra Prasad had delivered an address in Magadha Research Institute. It was Magadha Research Institute was introduced in that year. At that time, he talked about the importance of bringing back the Nalanda University as an international university, uniting all the Eastern countries. That is why it is not just India's effort. It is a kind of a coordinated effort of the ASEAN countries, and they are all contributing. Those countries
So
also
two
contributed money.
things that come out as you're talking here, ma'am. So one is so Asian countries. We've always had dispute with our close neighbors like China, right? I mean, we have not been very in good terms. So now that they are actually coming to us for a university, and are we saying really Buddhism is building this tie again for us?
No, that is one implication of it, is that rather than Buddhism, Buddhist studies. Buddhist studies. And that is why in the academia, there is another thought going around. That is, you should have it as an international university like other universities. That is, you should have the modern subjects, not necessarily the Buddhist, because in Nalanda, basically Buddhism, Mahayana, and then Vajrayana, only these philosophies of Hinduism was taught. Apart from that, astronomy, astrology, and grammar, Siddhantas, even Aryabhatta studied there. Kumarila Bhatta studied there. So the Indic studies also were taught there. I won't say only Buddhist, because the Buddhists wanted to learn the Indic studies so that they will be a better placed, or they know they can have an advantage over them during debates. For debate purpose, they wanted to learn. So the Indic studies are also there. And then scientific means astronomy, astrology, and mathematics were also there. Basically Buddhist. So initially it was like that in Nalanda. But now this effort by the Asian countries together, they are also contributing towards the building up of this institution with their money. There is a question on whether Buddhism is going to be revived or whether only Buddhist studies are going to be taught. But that is why some people are saying we have to teach other modern, subjects also. But as of today, they are teaching like a management, other courses like management courses, and then many mathematics, all subjects, all modern subjects are being taught today, not just Buddhism. But we have to wait and see how it is going to take shape.
And another thing, ma'am, you said this was initiated in 2004, but really we are in 2024, so it's really gotten us 20 years to get to this point.
Yes, actually, this was in 2014. The construction part of it started. Whatever, like we have to have that university, and that idea just it is finally took shape in 2014. The reason is initially the budget was some 10 million US dollars. Something happened. 10 million US dollars initially, but we were able to generate just 1 million US dollars from other countries. So money matters. Our external affairs ministry is involved. It's coming under that ministry only. So budgeting is also there. So in the past 10 years, they have developed these universities, the infrastructure and other things. It took 10 years to finish the infrastructure. So by 2024, from 14 to 24, it has come to fruition, even though the idea had taken shape some 20 years ago. So initially, in many summits, in East Asian summits, they had this resolution passed. They were talking, like in Singapore, Malaysia, in other places when we had the summit. There, the resolutions were passed, and the modalities were discussed, and the money, how much, that is the resources rather than money. I should say how much of resources. See, it's not enough that you are paid. I mean, giving the money. What about the teachers? From where you are going to get the teachers? If it is for the ancient knowledge, that is Buddhism or Jainism, because Jainism also was taught in Nalanda University. From the sources, we come to know that even Mahavira, Vardhamana Mahavira, had spent his Chaturmasya Vrata 4 months for 12 years in Nalanda. So that means Jains also have been there in some part in the past. And then, but mostly it was Buddhist. And from the archaeological excavations we find, and there was the temples for Shiva, Durga, and then Ganesha, all this. Because in the archaeological excavations, we are finding those images also. Why should they be there? Even this Chinese traveler Yun Sun, he has said in his chronicles that one of the Gupta kings, he constructed a vihara for Shiva, Parvati, and then Vishnu. So this gives a kind of multi-religious center, not exactly Buddhist center, even though it was basically Buddhist, mostly Buddhist. It gave place for Jainism and then Hinduism also in some part of time, not necessarily throughout its history, in some part in the past that we come to know from these excavations. The problem is getting the right personnel and then developing the curriculum. So it will take another 5 to 10 years to come to that. But I have a feeling, my personal opinion is, rather than India, all the other Eastern countries of Asia who are involved in this, they have Buddhism as their state religion or followed by many of their people. So definitely they have their manpower or the knowledge power there. So in the coming days, we can find them sort of coming to Nalanda in large numbers, and then as faculty and also as some resource persons. So all this have to take place. But by then, no, we have to find out whether we are going to have only the ancient knowledge as it was in the Nalanda days or the modern ones that had not been finalized, I should say. But as of today, modern subjects only are taught. Even though the emphasis is on ancient Indic knowledge, we consider Buddhism as ancient Indic knowledge, not a different religion.
Okay, so hearing you say, then it's really going in phases. So they are picking few streams at a time, and then they are introducing a as we go sort of approach, I believe. Then.
Yeah, as time goes, we'll know how it takes shape.
And you brought out a good point, ma'am. Can we steer to that direction? You actually said you're not sure how much of the ancient way of teaching is really going to be carried over to the new universities. So, what is your thought process on that part?
No, I think since the Asian countries are involved, and one thing, almost many countries, as far as I know, some 2 to 3 countries like Tibet, and then even in Thailand or Burma, and in Malaysia, they have that Nalanda University. They have a university by name because they have that memory of Nalanda. So from Hyun Sung's writings, we come to know, like when people wanted to come to Nalanda to study, of course, study Buddhism, they didn't come directly because in what language they could have interacted with the teachers. That question is there, no? In what language they are going to learn and in what language, because the Chinese traveler coming, he'll be speaking Chinese, and in how he can catch up with the language being spoken here. So it is now known from Hyunsen's chronicles in Sri Vijaya was the older name for Sumatra. It's a Indonesian country. Right, yeah, Sumatra, that is Srivijaya. In Java, Sumatra, there were some Sanskrit colleges just for the sake of training people in Sanskrit in 1 year or 2 year courses before they go to Nalanda. This is written by Hyun Sung. So and in those countries that awareness, see more than India, those countries are missing it, and they are mostly Buddhist, and they don't have the enough resources or knowledge bank now. So they want to revive that, and how to revive that? Since this is the mother country or the main place from where this knowledge that sprang out, they chose or they preferred India, and then India also wanted to take a lead in this because you know that Nalanda is not just a building or structure. Even our the Prime Minister would have told on the inauguration. See, it's not a structure of something; it's a culture. It's a something. It's a mind. It's another thing. It's not just a building. It is just spread over some 20 acres. I should say 20 hectares, not just acres. Across 20 hectares, you have different buildings in different places. This is how if you go to American universities like Purdue is not just a single building, like how we have, you look at a college building here, university building here, it is a sprawling building, that's all. Whereas in Purdue, entire city is a Purdue. Everywhere you can say here, one department, another there, another department. You have to go well, a little distance to reach them. Like that only, Nalanda also had, even though the main structure had a stupa surrounded by viharas, then monasteries and all that. So there are so many viharas just away. And in excavations, we are finding some 2 kilometers away from the main structure. So I'm checking the similar ones are found. That is why entire region was known as the Vihara. That had given the name Bihar. Bihar has come from the word Vihar. Vihar means monastery or a temple or a place of learning or a place of worship, anything you can say. So the entire place was a Vihara or Vihar that had given rise to the name Bihar. So that is how India is a very the root cause of it. So the other countries and they have their own. When they look back at their past, they see that they were Buddhists and people have come from here and then taken. Before I finish this, I want to tell one thing. See, we have 60-year calendar like in our system, like Prabhava, Vibhava, year names. Like current year name is Krodhi. This is totally our own Vedic, and then this comes in Jupiter cycle. That is Parhaspatyamana, we call it. The same names, same 60 years are there in Tibetan, in Chinese. They also have. How did they get it? Until now, we were not knowing how they would have got it, how who got it. Even initially, when the British people came, they have recorded it in their journals. You can see it in the Asiatic Society Journal of 1834, the complete record of it. So all the 60 years, maybe a slight difference in name according to their language. Okay, then how did they come? And then Britishers initially were worried, I mean, wondering whether we got it from them or they got it from us. But Nalanda shows the way. So people have come to Nalanda, learned, the knowledge has been taken there. For example, Hewson, he has said that like, he has taken Sanskrit manuscripts, 600 and more, okay, mounted on 20 horses. He has taken so much of Sanskrit scripts. And not only him, there are several people who have come from other places, from all these places I have told you. They have taken this, Sanskrit text. I don't say that they have taken the original text. They might have just copied. I won't say they have stolen or taken, but they have copied or made their own notes or whatever notes they have made while having the debates or talking or discourses and then lectures. And then all that they have taken in cart loads or even horse loads of books they have taken. What would they do with that in their country? They incorporated those ideas in their even China. It happened. Chinese have taken these ideas from that, and not only that, the figures. For example, in Buddhism, Mahayana doesn't have this idol. It's mostly jnana oriented. Whereas in later times, the Vajrayana or something had come up. In that, they have the images of Ganesha and then Saraswati, and all these you can find. The issue is today you can find all these figures, Indra, all these deities up to Japan. In Japan, in Korea, in China, in all these places, Ganesha,
Because
Saraswati.
India actually has a currency which has Ganesha on it.
Yeah, it has gone over there. Only through Nalanda it is possible. Why I am saying through Nalanda, the Ganesha there is not like our Ganesha. In China, the Ganesha is three-faced, like how we have Brahma. Actually, Brahma is four-faced, but when you are depicting in a statue, only three faces you can show. So like that only they have Ganesha. In Vietnam alone, several Ganesha figures with several variations, and in Japan also, even Saraswati. So all these are coming under Tantric Buddhism. Buddhism followed something like around 8th century or so. They started following tantric methods. In tantrism only, they have this idol worship, and all the images of Hindu pantheon that have been converted into in their own way. So whatever have gone there is not exactly Hindu, but Buddhist. But and the route should have been through Nalanda only, because we used to be people used to say out of India theory. It's not that out of India Hindu theory. It is out of India through Nalanda or through Buddhism. Another example also I can tell you, ma'am. In North America, see this one has gone up to Eastern countries, East Asian countries. America is a totally different continent. In northernmost part of America, there is an older culture where they have the same kind of marriage, festivities like us, particularly the rituals like Saptapati. We have the seven steps, taking seven steps around the fire, no? That we have in our Hindu. The same is there. I had a discussion with a person who is working on that. He was wondering how, because there is no news of Indians going over there, but he found out the route later on. Buddhists have taken from India. Buddhists have just gone through all, mostly, they didn't go through China. China means eastward. Even Hyun Sung, his route was through Afghanistan, through Gandhara. Gandhara, Khyber Pass, then going around the Himalayas and then entered eastward. That is how he had gone. Okay, and there are people who have gone further into Siberia, then through Bering Strait, they have entered North America. So there, they have wherever they have gone, they have taken the remnants of Hinduism also, because Buddhism is an offshoot of Hinduism only. After Hyun Sung only showed the methods like why not you learn Sanskrit and come. You have to learn here, and then sea route is better. So after him, whoever came, they came through sea route from the Southeast Asian countries through Sumatra, that is, Sumatra was a very basic knowledge center for preparing students for Nalanda. Nalanda was like higher education for masters, something like that. And this is the basic education, particularly in training in the spoken language. And once having come here, they have taken up Hindu names. For example, Hyun was known as Moksha Deva. Once you enter the Nalanda University, the bhikshus, they didn't call them in their original names. They gave them their own names. Like Moksha Deva was the name of Hyun Sen, like that for everybody.
Okay, and so I think there was also like this particular Chinese person, Huan Zhang. He also had written comments that Nalanda was kind of shows the love for knowledge, and so it goes back to our roots. Really, is we don't just learn, we teach as well whatever we learn. So that kind of is a different idea from our current modern world perception that we are very restricted. We do not share our knowledge. We keep it to ourselves. Women are not educated as much. There's a taboo, right? I think all this taboo is kind of uh, didn't exist in those days.
No, this is basically about Buddhism. What they have in mind is Buddhism. What they came and learned was Buddhism. That in Hyun Sung's writings, you learn about only Buddhism only. Whatever Buddhist ideas that he learned, only those things he has taken. But in archaeological excavations, we come to know, and from other sources, we come to know that mathematics or the Hindu thought that was also taught. For example, I give you
Medicine was also
so
very
for Buddhism, they came for that purpose in the past. They came for that purpose, and then they took back the basic knowledge. It's like you're going to Vedic school to learn Vedas. You need a teacher, Vedic teacher to teach you Vedas. You go to a Vedic Patashala. So for them, this is the Buddhist Patashala. So Nalanda was basically Buddhist, particularly this from the 6th century onwards. It was totally.
so
It also disputes the thought process that Brahmins kind of overtook education sector in the past. That
You tell me who will be in Buddhist monastery? Brahmins. Who will be there? So that itself, that negates the very idea. So a Brahmin may join a Buddhist monastery. A Brahmin may become a Buddhist, but he will no longer be a Brahmin after joining the monastery, isn't it? So Brahmins have nothing to do with that. But Brahmins have supported Nalanda University because we see that it's all coming to be known from archaeological finds only. There are many donations carrying the symbols or seals of Lakshmi, Vishnu, our Hindu deities. Why should those things be there? Whereas Nalanda itself has a seal, Dharmachakra with two deer on the two sides, and on top of it will be written as Sri Nalanda Mahaviharya Arya Bhikshu Sangha. Arya Bhikshu. So Arya also is being negated here. Now for Tamil Nadu, people are telling that Brahmins are the Aryans who have come here. But Buddhists only called themselves as Arya Bhikshu. They didn't call their religion as Buddhism. They called it as Arya Dharma. Arya Dharma means Buddhism. Arya, there are so many Arya, this thing, Arya, that thing in Buddhism, and that only Buddhism was taught, only Arya bhikshus were there. So the Brahmins are no longer, they will cease to be Brahmins once they enter. An example I'll tell you, Kumari Labhatta. Kumari Labhatta, you would have heard. He's a contemporary of Adi Shankara. What he did, he was an expert in Purva Mimamsha. He learnt in Kanchi only, a Vedic Pandit. He was a Brahmin. And what happened? He wanted to debate with the Buddhists and then win them over. At that time, Buddhism was gaining an upper hand. That is, Buddhists were winning the debates. So, how to win them? So, for that, you should know what Buddhism says. So, what happened? He went to Nalanda. He joined as an ordinary a Brahmin. Kumari Labhatta joined as an ordinary student without revealing his mind that he is learning. He has come to learn Buddhism to debate with them, and he learned. And later on, the teacher came to know that his main purpose is not to get jnana or Buddhism or Buddhist jnana, but to fight with them. So he was just thrown out of the Nalanda University. But by then he had acquired all knowledge, and he went on debate, and then he won. But that Guru Droha was pricking his mind, and he died just because he self-immolated himself. When Adi Shankara came to meet him, he was lying on the pyre, where there is this paddy husk and other things are spread. Underneath there was a fire. So gradually this husk is getting heated up, and that is just that is burning his body. So it's a slow death on the pyre. He preferred it. When everybody said, don't do it, no. I did a Guru Droha to the Gurus in Nalanda. A Brahmin has said that, can such a Brahmin or can any Brahmin destroy or do something wrong to the Nalanda University? It's knowledge place. And another example I'll tell you, because in this connection, I want to show you my Adi Shankara book, my research article on Adi Shankara, data of Adi Shankara. At that time only I came to know when I was doing the research. Pushyamitra Singha was there. Pushyamitra only brought an end to Buddhism, which was patronized by Ashoka. Ashoka was the third Mauryan king. By ninth Mauryan king, that Maurya dynasty just got terminated by Pushyamitra Sunga, who brought Hinduism. He wanted the revival of Hinduism. After that, only Adi Shankara also came, and during that time, only Kumari Labhatta was also there. So Pushyamitra Sunga, who put an end to Buddhism and brought these things. He was in Pataliputra. From Pataliputra, Nalanda was just 90 miles. He knows very well that Nalanda University is there. It was there. Kumari Labhatta also studied. They were all almost contemporaries within 100 years. If he had thought that Nalanda should be destroyed, Buddhism should be destroyed, he could have destroyed Nalanda University. He didn't do anything. Why? As a king, he is ready to patronize any religion, any knowledge system. Buddhism is a knowledge system. Jainism is another. So he was ready to donate, or he was ready to patronize them. He didn't, terminate them at all. So he was also a Brahmin. So you have to see, even though the Hindu revival was there, they didn't do anything to the Nalanda University. But in this context, I want to tell you one thing, ma'am. It's very unfortunate in the archaeological books when you're going through all these information on the past, on Nalanda or whatever in the past. The archaeologists have written, our archaeologists also, even the British archaeologists, they only started, they say, when they are talking about the Hindu motifs or Hinduism, they will say Brahmanical religion. Even in Nalanda, in one of the books, one of the archaeological books on Nalanda, it is said they have found traces of Brahmanical religion there in the form of Shiva, images of Shiva, Parvati, Mahishasuramardini, Vishnu in Nalanda, in one of the viharas. See, do you think, do you say that Shiva, Parvati, Vishnu are all Brahmanical? They belong to only Brahmins. They belong to all Hindus. But historians themselves are writing that. See, Britishers started this. They started writing as Brahmanical because only Brahmins were able to explain. Ordinary man can just go to the temple and then worship or worship God at home. If you ask him the theory, he will not know. Same with the Buddhist also. An ordinary Buddhist will not know the theory. For to know the theory, they had to go to Nalanda. So by that, can I say, any somebody, he's an Nalanda based or he is Buddhist based? No, no, nothing like that. But in the case of Hinduism alone, people have been saying Brahmanical religion that should be removed from all the archaeological books, I should say. Particularly in Nalanda, when they find the evidence for Hindu gods, that Vihara was built by one of the Guptas, and Hunsen has written, I think Kumaragupta or somebody. And then he has written in his chronicle that he built a vihara for Shiva, Parvati, and Vishnu also. So we have a written evidence and also archaeological evidence, but we are calling it as Brahmanical. That is strange, that is absurd also, and that is a main change that we have to do in our. We talk about rewriting, this is the first rewriting we have to do. It is Hindu, call it as Hindu motifs or Hindu gods. Why Brahmanical gods?
So, ma'am, I guess the actual destruction of Nalanda, can you briefly talk about that as well?
Okay, actually, Nalanda had undergone uh, some kind of destruction three times in the past. And before that, I want to tell you the origins of Nalanda when the question is there. But the Royal Patron Society of Britain, that is the British people, when they came, they gave a date 422, 427 Common Era. 427, that is the 5th century. But we have evidence even before that. Seals are there. Samudragupta, who was in the 4th century, his coins are there, seals are there. And then the oldest is 1300 BCE. All these are there. So it has been coming up initially just a grove where people have congregated, meditated, discussed all that. But it had grown into a monastery sometime during Buddha's time itself. So Buddha's, but which Buddha? The question comes. There are many Buddhas. Gautama Buddha was born in the 5th century or 6th century before Christ. That is before the Common Era, and he was a contemporary of Vardhamana Mahavira also. Both have met and both have stayed in Nalanda. Only at that time the monastery has come up because there is evidence. It is there are written records by Hyun Sang and others that some merchants, they gave some crores of gold. That is gold worth of crores. Some 500 merchants they gave to Buddha at that time and to build a monastery there. So people started being there. So right from 6th century BCE, it is there in some form, though not in a full-fledged, but it would have become a full-fledged international university by the 5th century. That's all. So around that time, like in the 6th century, that is in the early period, Unas, Unas you would have heard about. They were in Sialkot in Pakistan region. They raided Magadha. So actually, Nalanda is not on the way. That is why Nalanda has escaped many times in the past from direct destruction. At that time, some parts of the Nalanda Vihars were destroyed, and then Nalanda was rebuilt. There is evidence for this. This is the first one thing, and then this has happened in the 6th century. Then what happened in the 7th century during Harsha's time? And then Harsha's enemy from Gauda Desha, that is in West Bengal, he had destroyed some of the. That is while during the race, it's not that probably he was very much Hinduized and then he wanted to, he didn't like the Buddhist monastery there because by the 7th century, it was mostly Buddhist. The Hindu things were just less so. And then he had also destroyed some of the viharas or some places. But Harsha just chipped in. Harsha just defeated him. Harsha restored more than ever before. His contribution to building up the viharas are very great. In Harsha's time only, in the 7th century, it reached all that. This is the second raid. The third raid came in the 12th century only, and that is the time it was completely destroyed. In the third, that is a raid. To tell you the exact date, 1196, in the year 1196, this Bhaktiyar Khilji, he had raided, he had heard about this. He thought it is some kind of city. Actually, it was almost a city, some kind of a city state. We can say city state. He thought it is a city state where he can sort of, raid and then take back the riches. But what kind of riches will be here in a monastery? He didn't know that it is a monastery. So just with 200 horsemen, he raided, and then he killed all the people, there. And this is being written by the contemporary writer, a historian of that time, who had written chronology or history or histology on Nazaruddin Shah, and he has written that there he has recorded that contemporary historian has written the people in that place were all shaven headed. Who will shave their head fully? Only bhikshus. Brahmins also they won't shave all the time. See, if you go to Kushal Nagar on way to Coorg, Kudagu, from Mysore to Kudagu, if you go, there is one place called Kushal Nagar. There is a Tibetan monastery. Typically, this Nalanda would have been like that. I'm requesting your readers also, I mean viewers also, to pay a visit to that place. A typical that university, Tibetan or Buddhist monastery type. Where all the people, all young and old, all the time completely shaven head only. So no Brahmins will have like that. So, but this historian has written all the people with shaven head, they were all killed. Not even one person remained. And then he went around and then he demolished many of the buildings. But he could not get so much of wealth. He was wondering where the wealth and all that there. But there were three main buildings there. They were the libraries. And they are known as the Dharma Kanja. One of them is known as Ratna Sagara, and another is known as Ratnodadi, and another is Ratna Ranjagam. This Ratnodadi is nine-storied. Nine-story building was built at that time itself. This only had nearly 9 million all palm leaf inscriptions only. From salt tree that only they have made all these palm leaf inscriptions. So he destroyed, but he was wondering why now. No, I could not get any riches. So he was wondering then what is there in this? Let me get somebody to read what is written. There was nobody there because only the bhikshus can read. No bhikshu lived. And in his rage, he completely destroyed it by burning it. The burning went on for 3 months, according to one account. So this is how today we have archaeologically the evidence. What evidence we have is some burnt rice is got. But I'm very sorry to say, not much of archaeological excavations in these places to know these source of the fire and how much of this destruction by fire has been done. Whatever was done was basically during the British period, and now whatever they have done so far is just, measuring the site size and then measuring, just measurement, and then you look at the book only. This will be there. Destruction part, just 4 lines will be there. For example, Nilakanta Shastri, the great historian, he has written a book on Nalanda. 84 pages that book has. There, just 5 lines or 6 lines, less than half page only about the destructions. They just passed away. Okay, it was destroyed. That's all. And this has happened in 12th century. After that, what had happened, but really what had happened was mostly the people that are Buddhists, whatever they could, whoever were able to save their lives, they also saved some of the, inscriptions and all these things. They just ran to Tibet. They were hiding in Tibet. So this Khilji also went after them, but there he was killed. And there also there is a two types of information. Like one that is the official information from Muslim historians is that he was poisoned by his co-Muslims, whereas from the Tibetan side it is being told he was killed by the Tibetans. His skull was removed, and he was skinned. His skin was his human skin is being preserved there. They show they claim that it is to be the skin of body skin of the Khilji only. So this destruction has happened the 12th century. After that, nearly some 12 years later, for 12 years, some kind of raids are happening from Tibet. Once again, some Dharmapala or somebody, one teacher who survived, he came back and then just inspected this because he has written about it. He didn't talk about any library or anything existing at that time. Everything is gone. What he has written is everything is gone. Very few people were living there, trying to protect whatever they could. He had met them. But by then, one person by name Jayadeva, a common man, when he came to know that some of the bhikshus have come back, he said, I can give my money to you. You once again you start whatever. So they tried to, start some teaching and other things. But by then, once again, they were caught. That Jayadeva was arrested, and immediately Jayadeva alerted them all, you better go back to Tibet, otherwise you'll all be killed. And they all have went back. So what is Tibetan Buddhism today? Is nothing but the Buddhism taught in Nalanda. Even Dalai Lama used to say that we are what we have in Tibet. The Tibetan Buddhism is what we got from India only, from Nalanda. So this is the destruction that has happened. But the problem is the modern days, particularly the leftist historians, around 2004, in one of the history congress, a person that is the one who was heading that, one Mr. Reddy, the Jha, he said only Brahmins have done that. He only brought that narrative. And he said there was Tibetan tradition says, but he is not able to show any Tibetan script or Tibetan, evidence. The document. But whatever document he shows belongs to 17th century. That is 500 years later. See, any historical evidence, we take the contemporary. If the contemporary source is there, that is the primary evidence. That says that Khilji, he only burnt it. It's 500 years later in Tibet. It is recording the tradition only. And then the person also, we don't know the who some Kalachuri Raja had, destroyed it. Why should he? And then another tradition also is there. Two beggars, two beggars were ill-treated by him. He's not exactly ill-treated when they came to the Nalanda University, as though the Nalanda University was functioning after that. And then the people inside the bhikshus have thrown water, used water, wash water on them. So that made them angry, the beggars. And the beggars went into to do tapas for 12 years. They did the tapas, they did yajna, and then from the yajna, that ashes and the embers they just threw at the that nine-storied building, and then it caught fire. See, can that happen? Then what the other people were doing when they were throwing this embers, they could have stopped them also. It's all like pure, imagination or something. And then this is what they have. And these historians that are saying initially beggars, then they became Hindu fanatics. See, the word Hindu fanatic is recent, of a recent origin. Definitely, that word would not have got into the Tibetan literatures in the 17th century or even before that. But these words they were all using. Arun Shori had given a rebuttal for it. But when we have, but my question is, suppose Brahmins were actually they're beggars. How can you say they were Brahmins first of all? So the beggars have become some fanatics. And how can they do the see even now, except Brahmins, nobody else is able to do the yajnas because we don't know the know-how. We can't do because lot of niyama, yama are all there. But how could they do? How they learn, from whom they learned to do the yajna for 12 years? The tapas for 12 years and then yajna. That is also sort of strange. That doesn't fit in with that. More than anything else, I
Sort
would
of
say
like a cover up for what Khilji did.
Mahatma Bhatta had studied there and he killed himself for doing the Guru Droha to the people there. Then how can you expect the Brahmins to, to make a see Brahmins are the custodians of knowledge. That's what have been happening all these days. They were teachers until recently, so they will preserve the knowledge. Definitely, they will not destroy the knowledge. And then this kind of narrative was set up. And now, once this new university was inaugurated by our prime minister, the same narrative is being just doing rounds. But for everybody, I used to give the example of Kumarila Bhatta, then Arya Bhatta studying there, and also there is no way for the big Brahmins to go there. They have nothing to do with that Buddhist monastery. So this is just to divert or to make a political capital out of it. This Brahmanical. And also, as I said, in the archaeological books also, they write as Brahmanical religion, not like Hindu religion or something. This is not, this is a mischievous term, I should say.
Um, that was very insightful. Thank you, Mehmaj. So, just to wrap up today's discussion, can we talk about just how the modern Nalanda is going to be. I mean, I guess you gave that idea that physically probably they're going to bring back that structure look-alike similar to the Mahavir Vihara, but what is, and also I think the other thing is that it's going to be a net zero green campus. What other new technologies are they bringing in that has caught your eye, which you think could become a history in the making, I guess?
Actually, the main purpose for revival of this is to have to bring back its old glory. The main glory was that it was an international university. So it should attract international scholars, international students. So what subject you are going to offer them to attract international students? Already we have some many universities where international students are coming. But this particular university is of interest to Southeast Asian countries. So naturally they will offer Buddhism, Pali. Another thing is only in Sri Lanka Pali is prevalent. No one knows how to read Pali. Pali is yet to be developed because we don't have enough literature. I mean, literature is there. We don't have enough written records. See, though initially Nalanda was a Buddhist monastery or a center for Buddhist learning, today it is not that much practical to have an university to teach Buddhism alone, whereas they can have different subjects also along with Buddhism, or they should have a monastery as such where only Buddhism alone is taught. But for that, the Asian countries must come forward to share the expenses, the resources. So, as of today, we should have a kind of combined, that is, all subjects combined, not just Buddhism, but the very purpose of having this Nalanda University now is to have Buddhism as a subject and attract many people from overseas. So that they should aim towards that. And another thing that suggestion that I am making, I mean giving to the government to through your channel is that whatever ruins are there, we should just preserve them. We should not disturb them for posterity. We should not try to rebuild them. Actually, this university is next to the ruins. So let the ruins be, I mean, kept as such, preserved, and then it can be made into a kind of a tourist spot, or we can make a lot of, daily, videos to the people who are coming, how it had happened, how it was glorified. I mean, in its glory, all that we can show. We can make it as a kind of tourism important region of the past, not to disturb that area. And this university can have everything together so that only then it can survive. Otherwise, it cannot survive only on Buddhism alone. Probably in 50 years' time or 100 years' time, more people are coming only for Buddhism. Then they can think of having a separate wing for Buddhism. Until then, it's not feasible.
Thank you so much for your time, ma'am. It was a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Thank you for giving this opportunity.
Thank you for watching Chanakya English. Stay tuned for more such discussions. Thank you.